Oops, oopsie, oops. I did it again. I mean, did I do it again? No, not me. No, I didn't do it again. I'm just doing a podcast. But oops, there's so many oops. And I guess we're going to be going through all the oopsies. I did it again and then again and again. Did I learn from my mistakes by keep doing it again? You repeat, rinse, repeat again and again. Stay tuned because you're going to find out what we're going to be talking about again. Hello, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to PWD Allies Podcast. My name is Brent Frain. I'm the host, and please subscribe, like, and share the content that you're viewing today or listening to on the podcast version. It really helps our channel grow. Today, we're going to be talking about, oops, did I do that again? I mean, again, as you heard in the intro. Well, we're going to be talking about that in this podcast. I hope you enjoy this session because these are real oopsies. All right.
Can I sing, Brent?
Yeah, for sure.
Oops, I did it again. I played with your heart. Got lost in the game. Oh, baby. Oops, I did it again. So that's why I did the thumbnail.
Yeah.
And you'll notice that I included, I mean, I could have included anybody, but I basically included the two buddies of Trudeau and David Eby. They are bosom buddies. And because we're going to be talking about provincial and federal
Provincial
government,
and federal.
so that's kind of why I wanted to put them on the thumbnail to indicate we're talking about provincial and federal government oopsies, right?
Yeah,
We're
exactly.
we're going to be kind of doing a top 10 list in kind of reverse order. Start like it's going on a timeline in reverse. So the most current one we're going to do first, and then go back in time to the last one. So it's not done in order of importance. It's just done in current events
And
history.
the viewers that are watching today or on the podcast, joining me today is Neil Matheson, is my editor producer, and going forward, sometimes some of the podcast I don't always make that announcement, but it just really helps for the people listening on the podcast version. Most definitely, that way they're kind of following along. Whose voice are they hearing? That's talking versus my voice, Brent Frain, the host.
Who is that guy?
Who is that mystery person behind the mic? Yeah. Oops, did I do that?
Get off the show.
Did I do that again?
And actually, before we get going, I want to make two quick announcements.
Yes.
I mean, we were gonna have the show tomorrow, and then we
On Good
both
Friday.
realized, tomorrow is Good Friday, and maybe it's not a good idea to have it on Good Friday. So we kind of rethought about it, and we're launching early. We're launching today instead of tomorrow, Good Friday.
We'll have
That's
it
the
on
first.
Good Thursday instead.
Yeah, that's the first announcement. Second announcement is you were announced the other day by Sheila Malcolm. You went to the question period the other day
Mm-hmm.
in the BC legislature, and so you were introduced by, in the opening remarks, you were introduced by Sheila Malcolm, and she was very gracious in her introduction. And so I just wanted to call that out and acknowledge that she was very gracious. And you were saying off air that you met with her and she
Mm-hmm.
gave you like almost 40 minutes of her time.
Mm-hmm.
And she had all these aides coming in and like, please, Sheila, you gotta get to the next meeting and kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So I mean, let's acknowledge that she did give you a lot of her time the other day, and both you and Sonia, and
Yeah, it was
she's
wonderful having
yeah.
the meeting when we actually went to question period at the BC legislature in Victoria, BC here. And we go there as much as we can and just listening to the different debates that are going on. And yeah, question period is quite lively. Anyone who's been to a question period, you know what I'm talking about. Some days can be not as entertaining. Other days are really entertaining. Yesterday's question period was definitely lively. It was quite entertaining to say the least.
Mhm.
Definitely Lots to learn. I mean, on different debates that are going on and things that they're discussing in the legislature. But Sheila Malcolmson, the Minister of Social Development and Poverty Reduction, the minister, honorable minister, she made a statement and introduced myself and Sonia to the legislature. Quite a privilege to have that honor. Thank you, Sheila, for that. Greatly appreciate it every time that you do make that announcement. All the members from all the parties that were in the legislature, they clapped, and they made us feel welcome in the house. And so,
because sometimes we're critical. Let's be honest. Sometimes we're critical on the podcast here of some of the policies, right?
Oh,
but
yeah.
again, we're being critical of the policies and not the person.
Exactly.
That has to be said. And so, again, we're just acknowledging that she's very gracious. I mean, sometimes you wonder, like, she probably could throw some darts at us, both of us, sometimes. But
I'm sure she
the fact that she's gracious and she didn't do that is nice. I just wanted to acknowledge that.
I'm sure a lot of the politicians would love to at times throw darts at us, but it's nothing personal.
It's nothing personal
toward them or us. And it's all part of advocacy, and that's what our meeting was about. It was all about advocacy and seeing where things are at regarding rates. Where do we see improvements going forward? Again, just to summarize, one of the topics before we start the podcast, everyone, was the DTC. As we're all familiar with our viewers that have subscribed to our channel, we talk a lot about the Canada Disability Benefit and the barriers that are, the bureaucratic barriers that are put in place for a DTC stumbling block, which is the disability tax credit. The minister did agree that we had a meeting with that DTC. Unfortunately, it's still been put in place as a requirement in order to get the Canada Disability Benefit, and it's bureaucratic stuff, and it shouldn't even be there. Most people aren't going to be qualifying for that DTC because they either, number one, they don't have a family doctor, or if they do have a doctor, it's a 16-page document that needs to be filled out just to get that DTC. So even if your doctor may say, yes, you are disabled in BC, are you still disabled more federally? And that's where the problem is, and where CRA is, I mean, everyone knows that, has gone through this process. That bureaucratic garbage is like vomit to try to go through that process to get approved. A lot of them are rejected. And that's what I worry about, right? Because
but you know what, Brent? Sorry to cut you off, but is the CDB, the Canada Disability Benefit, is actually on our list, on our top 10 list.
Perfect. That is what.
So let's just launch right into this top 10 list. And again, just as a refresher here, this top 10 list, it's, you remember the David Letterman top 10 list. This is our top 10 list for the biggest oopsies from provincial and federal government. They go, whoops, sorry, whoops. And again, a lot of our examples are going to maybe BC centric, because you and I are from BC, but there's also a lot of federal policies here too. And so let's get started. And again, we're going to start with the most current, the most recent example, and it's here in BC.
Yeah.
And just the other day, this was in question period in the BC legislature.
Sonia got her voting card.
Oh, cool.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah.
So we're gonna start with number one here.
Okay.
And it was just the other day on April 15th. So what is it now? It's April 17th. So this is just a couple of days ago in question period. They were talking about a data breach, right?
Ooh.
And
Yes.
and you would tend to think that this data breach was just sort of just happened. But in a sense, I was kind of confused, because I'm thinking to myself, like, this data breach didn't just happen. This is kind of old news. So I'm thinking to myself, I was like, is this a slow news day or something?
Oh.
But what happened is, I'll give you the backstory.
Sure.
is there was this theft, this identity theft of 28,000 social insurance numbers in
Oh,
British Columbia.
oh my gosh.
Let's say that again. A theft of 28,000 social insurance numbers in British Columbia.
Whoa.
So it's a data breach, and it
Oh, that's
probably happened. Well, I'll tell you where it happened exactly. Actually,
okay.
it was in the interior health. That's that we have the different health regions in BC.
Yeah.
So there's the interior health region, and that region's responsible for Williams Lake, Kelowna, Kamloops, Vernon, the southern interior region of BC.
Hmm.
So in that region, you have healthcare workers working in that region,
Mm.
and it was it was workers that had been that are either current or past workers that were working between the years of 2003 and 2009.
Oh,
Their social insurance numbers were stolen and
my gosh.
used in an identity theft situations.
Oh man.
And
So
this was
bad.
first. This is why I say it's old news, though, because this was first uncovered by CBC and their Fifth Estate program. You know, the Fifth Estate on
Oh yes.
CBC.
I used to watch that all the time.
Yeah. So they did an independent investigation,
Oh.
and they found that in their first investigation that they did, they found that this was probably and again they did it in uh, October 2024 is when this first investigation came out by
Mm.
the Fifth Estate. Okay, and they determined that this leak uh, started happening in 2020 or before.
Oh wow.
That was what the original that was what the original thought was.
Hmm.
But I'm gonna go a little bit deeper
Sure.
because um, why they're talking about it now again today is that there's been another investigation done by again CBC, and they've kind of reopened this investigation again
Oh, oh wow.
because what happened was, and again I'm kind of jumping around a little bit. I realize,
Yeah, no worries.
but what happened was when the first story first broke, um, the interior health region, they admitted to the breach publicly. They did a news release and they admitted publicly to the breach back in March of 2024,
Mm.
and yeah, they said yeah it was a breach, but it wasn't too many people were affected.
Oh. Oh.
It was only like a handful of people where their SIN numbers were compromised or whatever. And then the BC Minister of Health, Josie Osborne, said that she was made first aware of it back in uh, January of 2024.
Oh.
And
Mm.
the workers that were affected, uh, apparently they went to the interior health region and they said, you know, were we on the list? Are we on the list of the breached information? And they were assured, no, you're not on the list.
Oh.
But see, the problem
Oops.
is now there's been more information.
Oops.
Now there's more information that whoops,
Oops.
actually we kind of lied. There's been names and addresses and birthdays that were leaked for
Oh man.
28,000
Oh
people
my God.
and 28,000 social insurance numbers, and it's like whoops,
Oh
you
man.
know. And so all of this information has been circulated on this dark web, they call it, which is a really hidden away part of the web that's supposed to be like ultra secure, basically hidden away part of the internet. Um,
Mm.
and but yeah, all this information has been circulating around on the internet and being sold for thousands of dollars repeatedly over and over and over again. Yeah, and so all these people are kind of lying, right? They said, oh, it's at first they said it's not a big deal,
Oh.
and now we're realizing that it's 28,000 people,
Oh my gosh.
that then you have well, let's say that the CRA, has come forward and said, oh, actually we've been plagued but with identity theft issues since 2020. So the Canada Revenue Agency has admitted that they've been having issues with identity theft since 2020, and they said in
Oh,
particular when it's connected to third-party preparers, tax preparers like H&R Block. Uh,
oh,
and there's a lot of problems with the e-file and H&R Block. So if you have a third-party preparer,
oh.
apparently it makes it easier for criminals to take advantage of these loopholes.
So they found a way through their system.
Yeah.
There's a clip that I would love to play. That kind of goes with this what we're talking about now
Okay.
from the opposition member in the BC legislature from the Conservative Party.
Hmm.
Anyone who knows, it's Bruce Bannon from the BC Conservative Party, and he
Yeah.
talks exactly about the breach of 28,000 people's information.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to play this now.
Sure.
That was for the South. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Today, Mr. Speaker, we have learned, and British Columbians have learned, that over 28,000 social insurance numbers have been stolen from BC's Interior Health Authority's 28,000 employees. Their personal information has been hacked and stolen. The Fifth Estate found that the stolen identities taken from Interior Health employees have been used for fraudulent CRA refunds and loans. To the Minister, through you, Mr. Speaker, when was this government aware of this breach? And how come employees like BC nurse Leslie Warner was never made aware that her account was hacked and her private information had been stolen? What kind of gong show is this government running in Interior Health? You can't get a doctor or count on an ER room, but if you're a nurse, you can now count on your information being stolen.
Yeah. That's probably enough right there, Brent. Because actually, I was gonna go into that a little bit more,
Sure.
and that's the key issue that he just mentioned there is like how far back does this go?
Mhm.
Because if CRA knew about this security issue with the identity theft going on, why didn't they make people more aware of what was going on with that?
So
Uh,
I paused it on that part, and then I'll play the minister's response. But you go ahead first, Neil, and then let me know when you're ready. And I'll
Okay, okay.
see.
Yeah, because I just wanted to say too, there's this person, Brent Krishnell, or Krishell, or I think is how to pronounce it. He's the VP of Digital Health within the Interior Health region, and he's got his own tech people that think that the data breach actually first happened back in 2009. So
Oh,
so
well,
you see how far the rabbit hole goes, right?
oh yeah. Ooh,
And so this is why it's a really big oops. Like
yeah.
like
Oops, I did it.
like I said, it first broke because of CBC's Fifth Estate back in October 2024,
Mhm.
and now there's been more information coming to light that actually it wasn't just a small leak, it was a really big leak because it
Mhm.
was probably somebody's personal PC or personal laptop, and they just took a whole bunch of SIN numbers home or something, right?
Wow.
And that's probably what happened, honestly. But anyway, you go ahead.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Privacy of personal information is, of course, an incredibly serious matter, one we take very seriously, and that health authorities take their responsibilities to protect very seriously. What I can tell, Mr. Speaker, what I can tell the member is that in January, the RCMP informed Interior Health about a document discovered during an investigation that included personal information of individuals, including a number of current and former Interior Health employees. Interior Health took diligent steps to investigate the matter, to support the RCMP investigation that's underway. They've also hired external security experts to conduct dark web searches and ensure that personal information, and they have confirmed that personal information is not on the dark web. They're now taking the steps to notify all current and former employees, and out of abundance of caution, Mr. Speaker, helping to provide credit monitoring to help people protect their personal information. They notified the Office of Information and Privacy Commissioner of this information incident, and they will continue to keep them updated. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member supplemental. Mr. Speaker, BC Health Authority Board of Directors were making $1,400 a day after a 53% pay increase. This incompetent NDP government keeps on hiring more and more and more bureaucrats and managers while disrespecting the workers. Will the Minister of Health tell, not me, but to the 28,000 frontline healthcare workers why this government failed to protect the personal and sensitive and confidential information of workers? Instead, this government has now exposed them to the kind of fraud that destroys and ruins people's lives.
Yeah.
Destroys them, Mr. Speaker. This guts people's families, and it will leave them looking over their shoulders for the rest of their lives. This government had a duty to protect their private information, Mr. Speaker, and this government has failed to protect their workers. What will the minister now do to make this right and restore the lives of those that are now going to be destroyed as a result of them leaving this door open for hackers?
We could probably stop it there, Brent, maybe, or unless you wanted to.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker.
Okay.
I have
Almost done.
explained the steps that Interior Health has taken in contacting former employees to do everything they can to ensure that these employees are supported. I can also confirm that Interior Health security systems have undergone extensive improvements since 2009. Mr. Speaker, information systems have increased the clarity of security credentials and system logging. Obviously, Interior Health, Mr. Speaker, is not able to disclose those finite details because, of course, they are protecting security measures for security.
Of
course.
Mr. Speaker, this government takes the privacy of information incredibly seriously, as do the health authorities. Health authority boards have taken the proper steps forward in providing direction, keeping the proper parties informed, and supporting the RCMP in this investigation. It is my expectation, of course, that they will continue to do this. I know that they will, and thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Mm-hmm.
There is so much.
Wow.
Yeah, and I just want
28,000.
Yeah, and I just wanted to again before we wrap up and leave this one as an example, I just wanted to give a couple of case studies that were kind of alluded to. So you had in one case you had a nurse from Penticton, BC, where she had 2 shell companies registered under her name. Again, this is because of identity theft. She had 2 shell companies registered under her name that was later used by the imposters to file bogus T4 slips. And then in 2022 you had a nurse, Leslie Warner, and she was mentioned in that clip there. She was taken to her local RCMP detachment in Fernie, BC, and charged with Social Security fraud. Right? And she was fingerprinted and had her mugshot taken. And then she found out that somebody had been using her identity since 2020, and that the hacker filed a bogus return in Alberta. So all of these identity thefts were as a result of the leak from Interior Health, and it was all healthcare workers, right? And what happened was these hackers were changing the addresses They were changing the addresses of these victims and saying that all of these people that were in BC had moved to Alberta, and so they were filing false claims saying that all these people had moved to Alberta, and there was in this one example here, uh, she found out, oh, this Leslie Warner never authorized H&R Block to do her taxes. She never authorized it, but for some reason, H&R Block was added as the signatory or whatever, the person, the
Okay.
company responsible for
Yeah.
her taxes, and this Leslie Warner said she never authorized that at all.
Oh, wow.
So again, these hackers took over her account and assigned H&R Block as the administrator of her taxes, which she said she never authorized. And then she found out that her home address changed, her phone number changed, and then she suddenly had children.
Oh,
She suddenly had children.
oh my
So
gosh.
these hackers were using maybe the child tax benefit, right?
Hmm.
As part of the fraud. And
Oh,
so
wow.
her final question, and this is a question that we all should ask, is why didn't anyone from CRA or from Interior Health get a hold of me a lot sooner?
Hmm.
I mean, that is the big bingo question here, right? I mean, and again, so this rabbit hole goes back a long way, and basically the resounding response from government has been, whoops,
Oops.
our bad, sorry, whoops.
But
Yeah,
here's a scenario is maybe because they changed her phone number, they couldn't reach her.
that's probably true. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I mean that's really really terrible what those employees went through, and not even just I mean it's really bad. 28,000 employees, but it's their families. I mean their families. It's a whole ripple effect throughout society because now it's like they stole these idiots stole
Mhm.
their identity, and now
Yeah,
they can't prove who they are.
yeah.
So how did they get their identity all back to the way it was?
Exactly. Like
And
once
yeah,
you lose your once you get your social insurance number hacked, I mean,
oh my gosh, yeah.
you anything can happen at that point, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it really it causes a whole domino effect. It affects
Hmm.
your own personal well-being, your financial, your whole financial situations. I mean, it's ruined. And how do you restore it? I mean, sure, they can put a credit monitoring, free credit monitoring system out there to help people, but in the meantime, how do you restore it? How do you get it all back?
Yeah.
That's, I guess, the questions that people are probably asking right now. Watching the podcast live or later on. Oh my
Hmm.
gosh, never thought about that. I mean, seriously, like it can happen to anybody
Yeah.
at any time.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I remember many years ago, uh, I had a credit card where somebody got a hold of it, and I still had the physical card in my hand, but somebody got a hold of it and apparently purchased a Lamborghini and a Ferrari, two
Oh,
cars,
wow.
two cars,
Wow.
and apparently put on a function event at some pub way over in way over in some Cayman Islands, and some other
Wow.
islands, somewhere around the world. I don't even know where.
Hmm.
And they asked me, well, I mean, did you do this purchase? Where is that? Like,
How many Ferraris do you have, Brent?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they asked me, the credit card company says, well, like, how are you going to pay this off? Pay what off?
Yeah.
And so again,
Hmm.
like, I mean, that it can happen. Somebody can get a
Yeah.
hold of that information, but the physical card did not leave my hands.
Hmm.
And I didn't do any purchases with it to even anything affiliated with that. So it's
Yeah.
scary
It is.
because somebody could maybe somehow get a hold of that number. I don't know how.
Yeah.
And so to prove your identity, I mean, having a wallet stolen, I had my wallet taken at one time in my life. but not going to get into all the nitty gritty stuff because we're going to continue with the podcast. But having ID stolen, it feels like your personal well-being is just been stripped from who you are.
It's very violating, right?
I got it all restored. Everything was fine. But I mean, wow.
But it's very violating. Let's continue on and do everything in rapid fire here. We've got 10 to go through. We've only gotten through one, but let's go to number 2 now. And again, this is in reverse order. So the most current ones in the list are up at the top here. So the next in the list is the Elections BC voter fraud, and that was involving the BC Conservative candidate Hanvir Randawa. He was one of the candidates for Surrey Guildford, and it involved voter fraud with Argyle Lodge.
Okay, yeah.
Remember that Care Lodge? For I think it was for the drug addicted adults.
Oh.
And
right.
And remember that they had the owner of the lodge said that she had all these ballots that she handed out to the people at the lodge, and then Elections BC came back and says, well, we don't just hand out ballots. They have to request them by mail. So there's all this kind of misinformation, like who's telling the truth, who's lying, right? So there's that, right? I mean, and then it's just like this big whoops, and where it becomes more of a whoops is, on the night of the election, it was back in October of 2024. You had David Eby. He said he promised to do a full inquiry. He promised to do a full inquiry about this, but then since it kind of broke in his favor, that he won the election by 1 or 2 votes, or 1 and 2 seats, I should say. He says, well, now that I've won, I can just let this thing go now. I don't have to do a full inquiry now. Who cares?
22 votes, and that's I mean,
and it's like, but the fact of the matter is like, if we fast forward to another 4 years from now, the same people that took advantage of these mail-in ballots, back in October 2024, those same people are going to be around in the future 4 years from now, and are going to do the same exploit to take advantage and to commit voter fraud again.
Wow.
Well, I mean, I'm just spitballing and just stating the truth, right? I mean, if you're saying that mail-in ballots aren't a security risk, and you're saying, oh well, no big deal, you're just letting it. You're not going to investigate. You're just letting it happen. You're going to let it happen again, and you're going to say, oh, no big deal again, right? And so you have David Eby basically saying, whoops, but because it worked in my favor, I'm just going to let it slide. Who cares? Right?
Yeah. Or they send a whole ballot box, right? Send a whole ballot box home. Yeah, here, count.
And they were sending ballot boxes home.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go wrong, right?
So that was, I mean, we went through that one kind of quickly.
Sure.
But that was another oopsie, right?
Oops.
But really serious. I mean, like Canadians and people in provinces all across Canada, we need to know that our voting systems are legitimate, and that they can't be compromised. And when something's been compromised and it's been proven that it's been compromised, and then to have our premier go, oh well, our bad, our bad, whoops. But let's not bother to investigate it. Who cares? It kind of worked in my favor, so who cares, right?
Yeah, nothing to see here. Yeah.
I think you gotta do better than that. Anyway, we can move on.
Sure.
the third one on the list, and again, this is in chronological order. It's not. I'm not picking on David Eby. Isn't
Yeah.
a show about picking
Yeah.
on David Eby, but it so happened to be in chronological order. During the election, again, we're going back to the election in October of 2024.
Mhm.
During the election run up to all these election promises, one of David Eby's promises was he was going to release this $1,000 grocery rebate to everybody in the province, basically $1,000. And
Imagine that, everyone.
his big thing was British Columbians need help now. You know, they need help now, not 2 years from now, not 3 years from now, not 4 years from now. They need help now. He says that's why I'm doing the $1,000 rebate. And then they get elected, and it's like poof, gone. And their excuse is we can't do it because of the tariffs, right?
Of course, it's the
Yeah.
it's the tariffs that got in the way.
Yeah.
Maybe I can pull up a little clip of that actual announcement. Back then. You just continue on, Neil, and just for our listeners, while Neil's kind of going through that topic, I'll
Okay.
see if I can pull up the soundbite on that one.
Okay. The fourth one in the list I can quickly introduce is all the safe supply and fentanyl crisis. And of course, that's a provincial issue here, but it's in BC, but it's also a provincial issue all across Canada and in all of our provinces. And again, one of the reasons why I included David Eby and Justin Trudeau in the thumbnail is because again they're kind of like bosom buddies. They're bedfellows
Mhm.
where they both kind of agreed. They're saying let's legalize hard drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Let's legalize the possession of hard drugs. What can go wrong? What
Oh,
can
yeah.
go wrong, Brent? What can go
Right.
wrong with legalizing the possession of hard drugs?
Oh, I mean,
You know,
it's like a bombshell, right? I mean, it's yeah.
and then this idea of safe supply, and I know I on one hand I shouldn't be the one talking about safe supply because I know that it's a very divisive issue, and some people say safe supply works. Don't bash it, but my thing is,
Mm-hmm.
let's consider for a moment. There's something called the four pillars. There's
Okay.
the four pillars of the drug problem, right? Or the four
Okay.
pillars of a fentanyl crisis. I'll let you go along with
Sure.
yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
All right. I think I found it, everyone.
Okay.
There's lots of news out there right now, lots of rumors. But no matter what our opponents do, we're going to stay focused on what matters most to people, ensuring that their homes that they can actually afford. They have access to a family doctor and high quality health care. And they get support with the cost of daily life, like cheaper car insurance and childcare, and getting rid of fees like the medical services premium. We know what John Rustad has planned: deep cuts to the healthcare system. They're going to make waits longer and healthcare worse. And he's done it before. He's going to do it again. It's a risk we just can't afford.
That's not exactly the one, but I mean, it kind of fits
Yeah,
into some of our narrative.
It's a little bit, yeah.
But
yeah.
I'm still looking here.
I just wanted to finish up on the safe supply.
Sure.
There's the four pillars of the drug issue.
I found it. Yeah. Go ahead.
The first one is harm reduction. The second one is prevention. Third one is treatment, and the fourth one is enforcement. So there's four ways to combat the drug problem. So again, it's harm reduction, prevention, treatment, and enforcement, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it seems to me, and again, this isn't really just my opinion. It's an opinion of a lot of people that the government here in BC and again governments all across Canada, and you can lump in our wonderful Justin Trudeau thought the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is it really the only pillar that matters? The only pillar that matters for some reason is harm reduction. It seems like that's the case where governments are kind of putting all of their resource and money, they're throwing all this resource and money into harm reduction by just giving away all the safe supply, and say, well, you know what, we're not going to worry about prevention. We're not going to worry about treatment. We're not going to worry about enforcement. We're just going to throw all this safe supply into harm reduction. Harm reduction is the only way to fix the drug problem. And again, so that's very short-sighted. But that again is something that David Eby and Justin Trudeau were super unified on, is this whole idea of like, harm reduction is the only answer. It's like 99% of the drug problem can be solved by safe supply. And they had these vending machines. At first I thought it was a joke. These vending machines that were giving out safe supply drugs, right? You know where they had them, Brent?
Where?
They had them outside of hospitals. Outside of hospitals. You could go outside of the entrance of a hospital. They had these vending machines where you could go get safe supply fentanyl out of a vending machine outside of the door of a hospital.
Oh.
And again, maybe I'm not the right person to talk about this, but again, in my humble opinion, remember what the doctor's oath is. You know what the doctor's oath is, Brent? What is the doctor's oath?
To save patients.
Save patients, but the official doctor's oath, the way they word it is do no harm. Do no harm.
Oh, okay.
And so if the doctor's oath is do no harm, and yet they say, safe supply, we're just going to hand out safe supply. How is keeping people on drugs, giving them safe supply fentanyl, how is that doing no harm, Brent? Keeping it freely available in vending machines located outside of hospitals. And again, that's my opinion, and a lot of people can scream at me, whatever. But I'm just stating the facts that the doctor's oath says do no harm, and yet our governments are fixated on this idea of harm reduction. It's not do no harm. It's not don't do any harm at all. It's harm reduction. Let's harm people a little bit. If we only harm people a little bit, we're doing our job, right?
I guess the question I have is, how safe is safe?
Yeah, exactly.
I got this little sound clip for our listeners. It was about the promised $1,000 grocery rebate back in before the election in 2024, before the government got back into power. What they ran on. Hoping I got the right clip this time. Sorry about that. Oops.
Oops.
But hey,
oops, I did it again.
Oh yes, this time
we have Laura Miles in chat. She says it's the Hippocratic Oath. That's the official wording for the doctor's oath. For the do no harm is the Hippocratic Oath. The do no harm. The do no harm. Yeah.
For our anyone who's in our chats right now, I'm going to play a little clip, and for the ones listening on the podcast, this would be Premier David Eby from the BC NDP giving us a little speech. It's not long about the grocery rebate, $1,000 grocery rebate per family, $500 per individual. That was promised before the election because people are struggling. Families are hurting. People are hurting financially. They're still hurting, and we're in 2025, and there's no grocery rebate because apparently tariffs have now taken over that decision why they couldn't deliver the grocery rebate. They wanted to deliver the grocery rebate apparently, but they
trust us. We really did
right now, but
we really did want to.
Yeah. Okay. So here we go. Everyone. Hope you can hear.
Tax rebate for people. Our tax cut year after year, $1,000 for the average household, available for 90% of British Columbians. This is something we can do right now to support families.
Something we can do right now.
Not if the federal government does this or that, not in 2029, right now, because people need support right now.
A new cross-Canada coalition of feminist organizations wants to make basic income guarantee a national.
Well, I guess that would kind of stem into like a basic income, right? Because if people are struggling right now, right? They look at people who need that help right now. Well, if you give people a basic income, people wouldn't be struggling. That kind of blended into another part of a clip on it. But I guess everyone's kind of got the point where people are struggling now. They need the money now. They need help now. Well, but apparently tariffs have taken over. So apparently they can't do it now because it would cost the government too much money. $14 billion deficit now. It was at 11.9, but because they took the carbon tax away, so people who would get that carbon tax credit, it now left the government with a hole of almost $3 billion. So now they're at 14 billion, but there's still they got the industrial carbon tax. It's still there. So people are still going to get hit at the pump on the other side of the industrial part, where you got the truckers who are paying all that carbon tax. At the end of the day, who ends up paying? Consumers, because it goes down the assembly line. The consumers at the gas pump, sure, the price might be down. Taxes are still high. There's a lot of embedded tax in there, like a bunch of GST upon GST and other taxes. Yeah, you're going to get that 14 cents drop. However, people are struggling now financially because of the cost of living is high. And so now that carbon tax credit, people needed the help. They need it now. That $400, they needed it back then before they took the carbon tax off. So now you got that plus that, and now there's a discussion about possibly amending a bill. I don't know where that's going. That's just my opinion. I don't know where that's going to end up. In the provincial government, they're talking about amending a bill, Bill 5, so that they can put that carbon tax back, or not that carbon tax, but the grocery rebate that was promised before the election back on the table. But apparently that's going to cost $2.2 billion to put that back on the table. So now $14 billion, that's going to put up to $16.2 billion to give everybody a $500 rebate each person in a family. So $1,000 per family. But if you got a bunch of people in a family, I mean, I don't know, it's going to go to low income people anyway. But where's that going to fit that whole of the carbon tax credit though? That's going to be interesting. We'll see. We'll do more podcasts on the development on this going forward. So yeah, we'll revisit that part.
Before we leave the safe supply fentanyl crisis thing, I did want to go back to chat, because we have Dan in chat who says in his comment, he says, I received harm reduction for alcohol use. He says that included counseling and classes, etc. He says I never received any alcohol or drugs. So Dan's version of harm reduction here doesn't actually, he's saying that he never got any alcohol or drugs, but according to the classic government definition of harm reduction, that does include safe supply, right? And again, that kind of goes against the Hippocratic Oath or the do no harm idea, which is why I have a big problem with it. And again, I don't pretend to know everything. I don't pretend to. I'm just saying that it just kind of flies in the face of the Hippocratic Oath of the do no harm thing. It's like,
I don't know.
By the way, we have vending machines outside our hospitals where you can get free drugs. And they have also, we should say too, they had these videos. You can play these videos where it tells you the proper way to shoot up and take your drugs, the proper way to do it. And also they have a video on those machines, on the vending machines that explains how you can make your bong pipe, your smoking pipe, how you can make it pretty and decorate it nice. To personalize your bong pipe. They actually have a video on that on these vending machines. I mean, you're basically, like I said, you're condoning misbehavior with these vending machines. Again, that's my big problem with it. Like, let's condone bad behavior and let's show people how to carry out bad behavior and decorate their bong pipes and how to shoot up properly. Like that's what I mean. Like they're totally focused on that one arm, that one pillar of the drug policy is harm reduction. That's their only concern is harm reduction. They're ignoring the other three pillars.
Mhm.
And again, that's my biggest issue with the whole thing
Mhm.
is like, don't throw all your eggs in harm reduction and say you're doing your job, because you're not. You're ignoring, a whole other three pillars of the strategy, right?
Mhm. Exactly.
Yeah.
What's the next topic?
The next one is it's kind of related. I
Oh,
call it the ridiculous catch and release strategy
oh, okay.
for violent offenders and crime.
Yeah.
And again, this is why again I put David Eby and Justin Trudeau on the thumbnail, is because they're bosom buddies. They are both tied at the hip or joined at the hip when it comes to this. They both thought it was a great idea, this catch and release. Let's catch and release violent offenders so that they can offend again. Like, remember we had a podcast not that long ago where we talked about, there was a couple that were really violently attacked. Remember, I forget which podcast it was. It was fairly recently. They were in some I don't know if it was like a London Drugs or something like that. They were just shopping, and they got violently attacked. There are two of them, this couple, and they're in the hospital recovering from their injuries. I don't know if they're out of the hospital now, who knows, but they had really serious injuries. And there was a couple people that were charged with the assault, and they were both released within 12 hours. They were both released within 12 hours and not charged.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
And yet this couple that was violently attacked with serious injuries, they were still in hospital. Yet these other two people that committed the assault were allowed to walk within 12 hours later.
Yeah, it's the violent offenders. They're just allowed to just keep walking the streets and keep rinse, repeat, do it again, and they some of them, I don't know if they think it's a joke or something, but
Yeah.
they are taking advantage of the justice system, which definitely needs to have an overhaul. Federal government needs to have an overhaul on that. I know provincial's been advocating very strongly to have the federal government strengthen the bill on that. And I know that the federal government, the leaders that are running, for re-election, whoever gets in, well, I guess it'll be interesting on April 28th. We'll find out who's going to be the next prime minister. But with that, basically, it just comes down to who's going to change the justice system, who's going to strengthen the justice system so that these offenders are not going to be running amok in our streets and causing chaos to people's livelihoods, businesses, people's well-beings. I mean, I've seen so many people in Victoria, Neil, that are scared. They're scared about going downtown Victoria. I mean, they want to go for a casual walk in downtown Victoria at nighttime. It's supposed to be nice and peaceful. A tourist
Used to be able to do it. Used to be
yeah,
able
a
to
tourist city. There's areas in downtown. I mean, Victoria. I mean, for our viewers that are watching live right now, and our people, anyone on the podcast later, there's certain areas of downtown that I will not go to because for my own safety. Not that I'm scared of looking at shadows following behind me, but with that being said, I'm looking at 222 right now. Yeah, it's just a fun inside joke, 222. But anyway, there's areas of downtown Victoria that I wouldn't go to. So one of my neighbors would not go down there again at nighttime by himself, and he's a big guy, and he said he can take care of himself. It was chased by somebody with an axe.
Oh wow!
BC government, okay, with an axe. I want the federal government to hear this too. Somebody in my building was chased with an axe, and the guy says, "I've never ran as fast in my life." And he says it was a real axe. It wasn't something that was just a toy. And you know what? Apparently, the local police basically apprehended the individual with the axe, took him in. He was already wanted on a warrant across Canada. They got him, catch and release. They threw him in. Guess what? He was basically back out, and he actually robbed some other convenience store. We've got the Subway restaurants shut down. We've got 7-Elevens shut down. I mean, and businesses that are, I mean, they're worrying about their insurance costs, because every time a business gets broken into, their insurance costs go up. Half the time, they don't even bother even reporting these insurance claims, because they're worried that every time they do it, their insurance costs are going to keep going up. And when they actually do need something for an emergency, that's what the insurance is supposed to be there for. If there's like flood or, maybe natural things that do happen, right? Is it because now they're having to pay insurance costs because the rinse and repeat situation, these offenders are robbing people at gunpoint or knife point, their employees. They're scared about going into their work. And so, I mean, this is happening in our province, across the country. I want to see things change. I don't have the answers. I don't pretend to know the answers, because I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know all the answers.
But I do want the counterparts I want the federal government to start working with the premiers. They're asking for help. Start working with the freaking premiers, federal government, because that's where it stems from. I know the opposition in the legislature, BC legislature, they're always hammering at the current government, but, to basically fix this system. I mean, obviously the system's been broken for, it hasn't been fixed. It's always status quo.
It's stayed broken.
Yeah.
I wanted to get back to the chat here, because we have again a comment from where is it now? Laurel Miles says the vending machines didn't contain drugs, just Narcan and fentanyl test strips. Now, I could be wrong on this. I mean, I stand to be corrected, but my understanding is that was the intent originally of those vending machines. But I believe in the research that I've seen that there were a few kind of what do you want to say compromised vending machines where the drugs actually did end up in the vending machines, even though they weren't supposed to. Drugs did end up in the vending machines. Now I could be wrong. But that's what I've read. Is that they weren't supposed to have drugs in them, but some of them did. And then the government said, whoops, we didn't know this was happening. Whoops. Now again, I can stand to be corrected. I'll research again and make sure. But that's what I came across is Laurel Miles is quite right. That the vending machines weren't supposed to have the drugs in them. But my understanding is that there were some vending machines that were kind of compromised and kind of, what do you want to say, taken advantage of, and they actually ended up getting certain things in there that weren't supposed to be there. Yeah.
Somebody might have hacked their way into these and then put another thing.
Yeah. So I mean, I stand to be corrected, but I believe that's what my research has that I found is there were some compromised machines. But anyway, let's keep going down the list here.
Sure.
The next one on the list, we kind of already covered it, was 6 is the Canada's disability benefit. And I called it the bait and switch gut punch. Yeah. Right.
I'll give a quick little overview here. Recently, we had a meeting with the BC Minister for Social Development and Poverty Reduction in BC at the legislature yesterday. Wonderful meeting. Honorable Minister Malcolmson, thank you for your time for the meeting. One of the topics we did cover was the Canada Disability Benefit. The minister does acknowledge that the federal government really screwed up, and it wasn't in her words, but I know what she meant. But the federal government did screw up the Canada Disability Benefit, the criteria for accessing the Canada Disability Benefit, meaning having a DTC, a disability tax credit. That DTC, it should not even be in the equation for accessing a federal program. That program for the Canada Disability Benefit was supposed to be a very state-of-the-art inclusive. It was supposed to go to every disabled person. 1.6 million disabled people across Canada on provincial and territorial benefits, so that nobody's left behind, right? That word, nobody's left behind, right? And it was supposed to lift people out of legislative poverty across Canada. It was going to be the best program ever. Trust us because we're going to get this right. That was the narrative. And I slowly saw this happening over time. In 2020, they made that announcement. In 2021, they started developing, it was under that bill C-22, I believe it was, and then went to Bill C-35 because they called it election, snap election at the time, opportunity knocks, So that bill collapsed. They redid the bill. It continued on, right? And that was right around the time that just after that, I launched the Twitter space because I saw this stuff happening, everyone. And I thought, you know what, I want to bring people together because I saw this huge program. And I thought, you know what, here's an opportunity of bringing people together, talk about lived experience. How is this amazing, supposed to be amazing Canada Disability Benefit?
It's interesting though. It's interesting though. Sorry to interrupt, Brent, but it's interesting to note that a lot of people expected it to fail though. Remember early on, like the vast majority of people said, "I don't believe it. Too good to be true. It's going to fail." Yeah, I was one. And I was one too. I was hoping it was going to be good, but I kind of expected it was probably going to fail.
I was hoping for the best because how the federal government announced it, and I thought, wow, this is going to be great. It's going to lift people out of legislative poverty. And on top of their benefits, the government kind of ran with it at first, made it sound like it was going to be on top of the existing, as a top up on top of your provincial benefits. It was going to be equivalent to the GIS, is what it was supposed to be modeled after, the guaranteed income supplement that seniors get. I've done my homework on that, so I know. And what I know is my mom got the guaranteed income supplement. I used to do her taxes, and she had her OAS, she had her CPP, and she was still struggling, but her rent was definitely condensed down because she had an agreement with her property owner. So her property owner said, okay, you know what? I'm going to keep this down. And he was like a family friend. I mean, he'd take me out for pizza. He'd take me out for ice cream. He was so cool. I said, hey, Uncle Al. Like, I'd call his Uncle Al, come by and don't tell your mom. I just brought you, an ice cream cone. It was and one of those ice cream sandwiches one time. And I was like, oh, and then the Starburst, one of these ones, rainbow.
Oh yeah. I remember those ones. Yeah.
My mom goes, where did you get that? I'll gave it to me. Anyway, whatever. I'll get off topic, but my point is, she had low rent, right? Not everybody got that. As my mom got older, she got onto senior supplement, but she had her GIS. She started getting her GIS and all that stuff. So this Canada Disability Benefit was supposed to be modeled after the GIS. Wow, imagine that, right? I know Sonia used to joke around all the time about the Canada Disability Benefit. I said, what do you think, Sonia? And what was your response, Sonia? Sonia? What was your response? Okay, she doesn't want to say it. I'll tell you what her response was. I will believe it. I will believe this shit when it's in my bank account. Yeah. Okay, and I don't...
Show me the money.
Word jar there, Brent. But the fact is, she said, I'll believe it when it's in my bank account. I don't believe a word that this federal government, they don't do anything right. She said, they'll screw it up. And I said, you know what? I think you're right. I think you're 100% right on that. I said, but I have that gut instinct that, they're going to mess it up. But maybe I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm really hoping I'm wrong. You're probably right, Sonia. And I said, you probably are. And I said, I'm probably right too. Something didn't seem right here. How could they do something so perfect and then screw it up and only give it to some people from 1.6 down to hundreds of thousands, down to tens of thousands? I saw the narrative going that way.
Let's say it together, Brent. Whoops.
Oops.
Oops,
Yeah.
our bad. Oopsie.
And then let's put a bunch of barriers in place and bureaucratic bullshit so that people have to jump through all these hoops to try to go and get something that's going to be $200 up to the keyword up to $200
Yeah, maximum.
per family.
Yeah, maximum.
Per family.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, up to but you have to get a DTC. You have to prove to the CRA that you're still disabled. You're disabled in your province. Everywhere you're a citizen of Canada, but you're disabled in your province. But the federal government says we need to see if you're disabled federally. So you have to reapply again.
Show us again, Brent.
Show us again. Show us
again. We don't believe you.
But we don't believe that you're still disabled. So let's see if you're still disabled federally. You have to reapply federally. You have to fill out a 16-page paperwork that you're going to be denied, most likely, not saying for sure. But even the minister I met with said there's all the bureaucratic bullshit, and that a lot of PWD.
Did she actually use the word bullshit?
No, she didn't. But I know what she wanted to say.
Don't misquote her.
Being professional, right?
Don't misquote her.
But the fact is that she said that it was quoted as bureaucratic stuff, language,
nonsense, maybe.
And so the fact is that most PWD won't get it. Either you don't have a family doctor, and the provinces ran with it because the federal government made the provincial governments believe that they had the PWD's best interest in mind, that we're going to make this historic. So the provinces said, you know what, we're not going to raise the rates. We're waiting on a federal benefit that's going to help Canadians with disabilities. And again, that's why they didn't raise the rates, right?
Yeah.
So I said to the minister, okay, so what if you can't get that CDB because you can't get the DTC? Well, unfortunately, you have to get the DTC in order to qualify because the federal government made that as a criteria currently. And I know Mike Morris for the MP for the Green Party for Kitchener, Ontario, and a lot of the other advocates for other parties. I know there was other ones from other parties that really stood up. I know that maybe they weren't as prominent as certain other MPs. Benita Zarello, the NDP, critic for people with disabilities.
She's great too.
A lot of them stood up in the House and hammered about the inequalities for this barrier for the DTC as a requirement. And I'm not going to pick sides of what political party. I stay neutral, but I know that a lot of them wanted to see this Canada Disability Benefit be up to its normal state of what it was actually originally announced to help people. I know that it was part of the bill that was actually
because maybe $200 is not going to lift anybody out of poverty.
Yeah, maybe $200 is not going to lift people out of legislative poverty. Yeah. Now that part of the bill and I'm going to explain this to people too, just so they understand. Okay, so that CDB, the Canada Disability Benefit, was in the bill, and it had the dental plan, it had the healthcare plan. It was inside that same bill, right? So if they didn't pass it, the whole bill would have collapsed. In my view, is that I think that CDB should have had its own bill.
Yeah.
It should have had its own bill altogether. We probably wouldn't even be having this discussion now because I think that the federal government probably would have been forced to actually put it back to its normal state. But who knows what.
And the last time Benita Zarrillo was on the podcast was a while ago. She actually explained all that as to why they voted it the way they did, because of all those other things that were in the bill, like you said.
Yeah, it would have collapsed the whole bill down, and I think that was part of the agreement that they had with the Mr. Trudeau at the time, the federal leader for the Liberal Party. What I'm concerned is going forward is there's no discussion. They had a recent debate for the candidates for the federal election recently, and my understanding after hearing some of the dialogue, they silenced out the leader or the candidates that were running for each party. They weren't knowledgeable what was going on with the Canada Disability Benefit. The only one that said in there was apparently, I guess, the federal NDP said they're going to double the CDB from $200 to $400. I guess if they get in, and I mean, great. Should it be up to what it was really stated? I think it should be, but that's just my opinion. Again, I worry that people are not going to be able to access that program. Either they don't have a family doctor or they can't get approved, even though their family doctor may say they're approved. CRA could buggle this thing up, and the cost to get it done.
Yeah.
Doctors may waive it off, other ones maybe not. And even if they do waive it off, CRA could bugger it up, and now you have to go back to that doctor again, say, oh, they screwed up. Can you redo this again? You're wasting doctor's time, and you're wasting your time. You're wasting all the anxiety, all the stress that you need to go through just to get up to $200. So I know we discussed a lot of this in on the Twitter space when I first had it, and that's why we pushed for DERB way back when. But the finance minister at the time said, oh, well, we can't do both. Apparently, we can't get DERB going because Canada Disability Benefits there. Really?
Well, apparently they can't do either.
They can do either one.
They can't do either one.
And so now, the federal government cons the provinces into waiting on a CDB that, wow. So here we are, everyone. I look back at the Twitter space era on that, and there was a lot of great discussions we had on that.
Can I cut you off though?
Yeah, you can.
We should keep
continue
going.
on here.
We should keep going.
You can see how passionate I am, everyone.
Yeah, I mean,
CDB, right?
I could tell you're kind of very good off the path here, so we're gonna stay on task. Let's quickly run through these. The next
I just get pissed off, everyone.
I know, but the next one on the list, and we're gonna go quickly through these, is the ending the PWD bus pass clawback in BC.
Oh yes.
And they destroyed, or the BC Liberals ended the annual. It was a $45 annual PWD bus pass for people with disabilities here in BC. They ended it back in 2016, and I remember when the BC NDP were in opposition, and you had John Horgan. Remember, he was out on those rallies on the lawn saying,
"Oh yeah, I was
just
there.
Give them back their bus pass," right?
Yep.
And then they became the ruling government in 2017, and it's like, well, sorry, they destroyed the computer, and the BC Liberals admitted, oh yeah, we destroyed the computer. We can't do anything about it. Sorry. And I'm sorry, I don't buy this whole we destroyed the computer thing, because there's more than one computer on planet Earth, isn't there, Brent?
Oh yes.
And there's something called backups. There's something called backups, and even if there wasn't a backup, you could still rebuild the computer. You could still easily add a box that says, does this person have or want a bus pass? Yes or no. Check the box. If they check it yes, they get the bus pass. If they check it no, they don't get the bus pass.
I've got a clip here about the bus pass, everyone. Listen to this. Listen to this. This goes back into our time machine about the bus pass.
Sure.
Listen to this. Okay, here we go. This was our former premier, our late John Horgan. The premier of British Columbia, about the $45 a year bus pass when in opposition.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Will you restore the bus pass, the $45 bus pass that has been in existence for the past number of years? Will you do the right thing, restore the bus pass, and give these people a break?
Give these people a break. Do the right thing, right? Do the right thing.
And there was that came up with BC Disability. I think that was actually edited down, but give me 1 second here. I will find one here. Here we are.
Official opposition.
Okay, here we are. Okay.
Speaker, and every day that goes by since the tabling of this year's budget, more and more people are talking about just how callous this government has become. And we've got some fairly graphic examples of the choices that the Minister of Finance talked about on election day. The Minister of Finance had a choice to give a meaningful increase to people on disability pensions for the first time in 9 years.
9 years.
And instead of doing that, Honourable Speaker,
the Minister of Finance gave with one hand and took away with the other. And the government had the gall to say that this was about choices, Honorable Speaker. And I don't know anyone else in this place who would agree that the choice between being shut in or using the most basic form of transportation is in fact a real choice. And the Premier, of course, has choices as well, Honorable Speaker. And the Premier chose, rather than using WestJet, to spend $500,000 on private jets. So my question is to the Minister of Social Development. Can she explain to people in this House, and more importantly, to people on disability assistance, why it's okay for the Premier to find the highest priced option, and it's okay for you and your government to take away the most basic of options for transportation for people with disabilities?
Yeah, there you go.
Response now.
All response? Okay.
I remind all members to direct their comments through the chair. Minister of Social Development.
I think he did direct it to the chair, but yes, anyway, yeah.
This is Michelle Stillwell, right?
Madam Speaker,
Yes.
the member opposite seems offended that we would actually provide choice to people with disabilities, that as if they're not able to make choices for themselves, Madam Speaker. And we on this side of the House actually think that people are able to make their own choices. And that's why in our ministry here in social development and social innovation, we continue to refine policies to increase the independence of people with disabilities so that they can attain their full potential, Madam Speaker.
It was our choice to take it away.
Yeah, take it away.
Again, for clarification for the members opposite who certainly don't seem to understand, and as much as they continue to say it over and over and over again, it doesn't make it right. Madam Speaker, the subsidized bus pass program is still available to those individuals with disabilities.
It's not.
And they will receive a $25 rate increase. That is what we are able to do on this side of the House.
What we're able to do.
$25, everyone. 25.
It's all about choices. It's all about choices. And our BC Liberal government chose to get rid of the bus pass. That was our choice.
$1 to give to the richest people in British Columbia, and they're taking away bus passes from the most vulnerable.
Oh, terrible. Irrehensible, he said. Irrehensible.
Talk about choice. What's the choice? The choice is to stay home, or do I get a bus pass, or do I buy food, or do I keep the lights on? Because hydro rates are going up again as well. This is a government.
It's interesting.
Completely and utterly detached from reality. Absolutely detached from reality. Why is it okay, Honorable Speaker, through you to the Minister of Social Development? Why is it okay for the Premier and her entourage to get private flights wherever they want to go, and it's not good enough to give a basic bus pass to the most vulnerable people in our community? Why that choice?
And here comes the final.
Social Development and Social
Madam Speaker, this wrong, and the member opposite knows it. The investment is $170 million to increase the rates for people with disabilities across this province, giving 45,000 people money that they didn't have before, that they didn't get, that other people did get. It's about equity. It's about fairness. And from the members opposite who always say that's what they're all about, fairness and equity, this is what change is doing in our ministry, is making sure that everybody is getting the same thing across the board, as well as keeping their subsidized bus pass if that's what they choose. Madam Speaker, it's not just about the rates, it's about the other things that we wrap supports around individuals: free MSP, free dental, optical, medical equipment, supplies, subsidized daycare. We wrap all those supports around people to ensure that they can reach their full potential.
Wow, $100 million.
Yeah, so Michelle Stillwell's idea of equity is let's take away the bus pass for everyone. If we take away the bus pass for everyone, then it's equal. It's equal across the board. Let's take it away for everyone, and it's equity. Equity in the system.
And then she says a $25 increase back then. A $25 increase. Oh, but if you had choices saying, well, you can have $52, the value of a $45 a year bus pass. So 52 25, that was that Shell game. It was $77. And people said, well, I want to have my bus pass. I want to be able to get around. Oh, well, government says, well, if you don't want to get around, you can have the 52, plus you can have the 25. So you have a $77 increase. Imagine, look what we did. People say, well, I can't get around then. Well, then her basic argument is, well, you can stay opted in. Stay opted in. You can have the equivalent of a bus pass, but now you want to get
I listened to 4 or 5 people. And the 4 or 5 people told me that it wasn't fair, it wasn't equitable, so I destroyed the whole thing.
Yeah. So then you say, well, but here's 25 though. I mean, you can have 25 and have a bus pass, but you only have $25. Well, I mean, gee, the buying power for $25. And that was when the minister, when they were in opposite, when that was the minister who had said that part. And that was in 2016. So now we're in 2025. We're 9 years later. So that same $25, say, increase is now worth, depends on what you want to buy, of $25.
Pennies, maybe.
You can't buy very much with that. The buying power erodes away. So now with the current government, right, there was no increase for, well, to our support in 4 years. They said 9 years their last increase, right? So I can see different trends of stuff. I mean, regardless on what party's in power, it comes down to the policies. I just want to see people have the fairness, and they call it fairness and equity, right? I want to see it right across the board. Just give people the proper financial means so they can better their life however they want to better their life. Give them the supports that they need to thrive provincially, across the country. Give them their transportation. And if they use it, if they don't use it, it's there. And no opting in, opting out of a bus pass. Just give them a freaking card automatically, because it's already paid for by your taxes, everyone. Just so you know, your taxes, property taxes, it pays for your transit. So it's there. Right?
Yeah, it's there already.
I mean, they can give 18-year-olds a bus pass and give seniors a bus pass.
Yeah.
And I've talked to bus drivers. They've told me that it's there. It's just
we don't count, Brent.
No, we're supposed to be.
Again, we have to. We've got about 10 minutes left, maybe, and we've got about another.
Okay, well, rapid fire.
We've got another 3 to go through here.
Okay.
So we'll go to number 8. Is the Canada ratified the Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. That's the CRPD in 2010. That was under Stephen Harper when he was Prime Minister, right?
It's going way back in our time machine.
Yeah. So again, we're going from most recent to the least recent, and so here it was in 2010. It was ratified. That
15 years later,
Canada signed on, and 15 years later, what's happened? Basically nothing, right?
15 years later, the UN for the CRPD, the UN is disgusted. Just so everyone knows, they are disgusted with the federal government on how they're treating persons with disabilities across Canada. They are disgusted on how the Canada Disability Benefit has been rolled out. They are disgusted that MAID is even on as a criteria of saying, well, have MAID rather than aid.
That's the solution, right?
Right. That's the solution. Oh, you're suffering? Here, go and have MAID. Oh, yeah. And I'm not a pro to tell everybody what they shouldn't do in life. I'm here saying people want financial. They want to have that financial security. There are all of our income-based systems are there. And I'm not going to go through every single one, but I'm going to give just people an example. Our EI, CPP. Well, that's another topic in itself. But anyway, GIS.
That's on the list too, Brent. Actually,
but I mean GIS, Guaranteed Income Supplement. All these child tax credits, GST credit. You got all these different credit programs that are there. All they have to do is make one lump sum program. And if you're on low income, and trust me, the CRA knows who gets what. They know who's low income. They know where the cutoff is. And everyone should automatically get this. And I mean, I'd love to have Tom come on, or Joseph, or anyone that would love to talk on this topic, because I'm sure there's lots of people.
Yeah.
definitely, I'd love to have one of you on, or maybe we'll have a little group. But anyway, that's another topic in itself, another discussion. Invitations there. But anyway, when it comes down to that UNCRPD, again, they said that Canada is violating the rights of persons with disabilities. Article 28 stands out top of my head.
Yeah.
Where Article 28 is huge. If people are not familiar with it, read up the articles.
Is that the security of person one?
Yes, it is. And there are a lot of different articles, but Article 28 actually states that. And right now, Canada's not even following that criteria at all. I think the federal government realized that they screwed up. They don't want to admit that we screwed up. I always say, if you mess up, say, look, I screwed up. I mean, it's not hard. I mean, if I say something on the podcast and I upset somebody, or I say something wrong where I don't know the information, I try to know the best based on my ability, based on my knowledge. A lot of it's opinion based too, but I also try to get a lot of factual information. If I screw up, I'll say, look, everyone, I'm sorry. I screwed up. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know what? And then you move on. You say, okay, if the person accepts their apology and says, yeah, you know what, Brent, you shouldn't have said that. Do better. I say, okay. And that's fine. It's called constructive criticism. I've had that from employers in the past. And I had an employer yell at me and said, what the hell is wrong with you? I had a bad allergy season. It was 1 year. Just quickly, I had a bad allergy season this 1 year, and my balance was off. I just wasn't feeling good. I shouldn't have gone into work. I needed to get the money to help my mom out because her money was clawed off her by the provincial government. Based on she was a customer for the co-op. And I talked about this one day on the podcast. So I pushed myself more and more and more, just work. I was doing 2 full-time jobs, a part-time job. I'd get maybe 6 hours sleep maximum. And I pushed myself more and more. And the fact is, I went in, I had bad allergies, and I was in bad shape. And I got yelled at by my employer. And pardon my language, and I don't normally swear on the podcast, but Brent, what the fuck is wrong with you? Go home. I'll pay you. I'll even pay you for today. I'll make sure I'll just write it down. This was the employer. I'll pay you for today. You are useless to me. You need to go home. I'm useless. No, you're not useless as a person, but physically, mentally, you're not there. And I wasn't. And I knew that, but I pushed myself because I had that inner self to me saying, I have to do this because I didn't want to see my mom suffer. Because the government clawed off of some money that she was entitled to. She paid for it off her pension, but the government said it's earned.
That's number 10, Brent. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
Yeah.
But anyway. let's now go to number 9 on the list. So one before 10 is number 9, and that's the relief from high market rents and increased housing costs.
Yeah.
And we have to say that all of this increased housing costs, it kind of started with all this money laundering that was going on, right?
Yeah, it stems back to a lot of money laundering that was going on into the real estate market. It was getting channeled through casinos. It was embedded every single place that you could think of.
And it basically happened under the watch of the BC Liberals.
Yeah, it happened under the watch of that, and exactly. And anyone who's following regarding money laundering, I really encourage you to check out Sam Cooper, who's on social media. He covers all this stuff. I'd love to have Sam Cooper come on maybe and talk about how this affected the real estate market for people who rent. Why are these rents so outrageously high? I mean, we know that it's profiteering. I know that the federal counterparts are fighting to try to control this sector of the market, where it's how high, sky high rents, how high can it go? Well, it's all about profit margin. Why? I know, as I rent in that market, I rent in this market, but I have a good rapport with my management company. I'm grateful to have a roof over my head. Do I agree with everything going on? No, I don't. I was told that, hey, your rent's going up. You got to deal with nasty neighbors. Move to another unit in one of our other buildings, or even the current building. Pay more what that going rent is. Well, how high is it? Oh, well, depends on when you want to move. I mean, if it could be over $2,000, but hey, if you don't want to deal with it, move to another unit, move to one of our buildings. I said, well, the government hasn't raised our rates. No. Yeah. Why not? I said, well, again, I talked to my manager again, just today.
Yeah.
Just today, everyone. Again.
Well, I wanted to say that the housing cost thing, it's multi-leveled. It's very complex. There's the provinces that are responsible for it. Like here in BC, like we said, the money laundering. Back in the day when it was Rich Coleman was in charge of the gaming file.
Yeah. He was also the Minister of Housing at the time.
Yeah, too. Yeah, and there was something called the illegal gaming enforcement team. It was called IGET, and
right.
And he dismantled that. When they told him, like, if you dismantle it, you're gonna get more money laundering in the province.
Yeah, he was advised not to.
But he dismantled it anyway.
Of course,
and so there's the provincial responsibility, but there's also the federal responsibility of Trudeau, that has relaxed. When he was prime minister, he relaxed all of our immigration policies and how, just kind of letting everybody in.
Yep.
And it's like, who cares if you can house them? Who cares if we have enough jobs for anybody? Just let them in.
Yeah, and BC got over hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people coming into our province. Beautiful British Columbia, right? Well, let's all flock out to BC. And there's other beautiful provinces too. However, they got dispersed across our country. And I have nothing wrong with immigrants coming in. I believe that's wonderful, because Canada's always had immigration coming in. I mean, people that immigrant here because of their families are here, their ancestors, grandfathers, grandmothers, etc., etc. But when you allow unlimited amount of immigrants to come into our country, when you can't take care of your own citizens,
when you can't support the people you're bringing in,
and that's why I have a problem with the federal and provincial. If you can't take care of your own citizens, I mean, regardless if they pay tax or not tax, people that are on fixed incomes, the government's motto is, oh, well, they don't pay tax, so they don't deserve to have a rate increase. What do they know? Yeah, you pay.
I do pay tax.
I pay tax every time that you go to a grocery store. Every time that you go to any kind of business, you pay tax. You pay tax. My mom and I used to have that discussion, and my dad, actually, I talked to my dad, and my dad was, he had worked all his life, and he became a senior, fixed income, and I still remember that time when we were talking about taxes, because I studied this stuff in college at the time too, through economic BC and stuff. So anyway, whatever, I won't get into that, but yeah, we talked about taxes. And he says, you know what, my boy, he used to call me that. He says, governments, their way of thinking is, oh, wow, they don't pay tax. I mean, it's a fixed income. We all pay tax. He says, I paid tax all my life, and now I get my money back. I get my money back in my pension. We all pay tax. He says, can you go? And he was having some difficulty at the time. I went to go and visit him. And so he sent me down to the grocery store to get some stuff, and some toiletries and stuff too. And I had to take a cab back because it was too much to carry. And he says, how much tax did I end up having to pay? I go, oh, wow, like $13. And it was a whole big load of stuff. Imagine that, see? So the point was tax. And he goes, so that goes back into the provincial and federal government, who then puts that money, or is supposed to put that money, back into the provinces as transfer payments and back into the services federally. So the fact is, when people say, oh, they don't pay tax, wow, I mean, golly. So it comes down to a lot of these services that are intertwined. Is a huge problem where corporate rents, federally, I know that the counterparts have been pushing the federal government on this. to try to get accountability in place, and more power to them. I really hope that
more equal distribution of the wealth across the provinces, right?
Yeah, I know that MP Julian and Zarello, Laurel Collins, McGregor, there's a whole bunch of them. Barron, Minister Barron, there's a whole ton of them. Even Morris, MP Morris.
Morris, yeah.
I can keep going down the whole list, but there's a lot of them from different parties. Even some of the from the Conservative Party, the Liberal Party, the Bloc Party. There's still handfuls of people within their own parties. They're still pushing their own government to do the right thing and stop all this corporate investment. Some of them are not even in Canada. They don't even pay tax in this freaking country. Tax haven, tax sheltered. Yeah. There was a guy, Neil, our viewers and listeners later on the podcast, there was a real feisty advocate in British Columbia. And it just reminded me of that. Sonia remembers. I just can't recall his name. You might even know, Neil, as soon as I describe it. Sonia and I are trying to rack who that is. I know that Paul Gilbert, he knows who he is. I can find the clip. I just have to look for it. And one day I'll put it on the podcast. Dermont.
Oh, yeah.
He made a statement. God rest his soul. I so miss him. I so miss him so very much as John Horgan. He was a very strong advocate. Both of them were. But he made a very powerful statement. And he said, Mr. De Jong, do the right thing, raise the rates. And I can almost mimic his how he worded it. He said, there's over $500 million right now in the Cayman Islands. Islands. I mean, powerful speech, everyone. This came from a feisty advocate. He was there when we were talking about raising the rates. We did a rally. And speaking of that, I'll make an announcement after we go through our 10th. Then I'm going to make an announcement regarding something that's coming up in BC.
Okay, can we go to the 10?
Sure.
Okay, because the last one, Dremel, Brent.
Yeah.
The last one is stopping the PWD clawback, and of course that one is near and dear to my heart. And the reason I don't like it is it's the oldest one on the list. It's the oldest one on the list because it stems all the way back to 1993, 1994. So it is the oldest one on the list, still going on. Like I've always said, Mike Harcourt, previous Premier Mike Harcourt here in BC, he's the author of it. It's just kind of disgusting because the way I look at it is the whole clawback thing is a purposeful, deliberate, and willful denial of the truth of what a pension is supposed to be.
Yeah.
And when you purposely and deliberately and willfully deny the truth of how a pension is supposed to work, because a pension is supposed to be a support income, it's supposed to be a wraparound support income, just to replace a loss of income, and when it's not allowed to do that, that's a deliberate and willful denial of the truth, and that is why I have such a big problem with it. So that is our 10, and we can clock out.
Yeah, number 10. I wanted to mention regarding pensions is number 10. It really hits me close to home when it comes to that, because a pension is a pension, and when it comes to the like seniors, they get their pension, right? A GIS, guaranteed income supplement, and that's a pension. You never hear of the government going after saying, well, I'm going to take away their guaranteed income supplement. I mean, wow, that would be right on headlines. But they can go ahead and that
would be so mean to do.
It would be very mean spirited, as John Horgan used to say, very mean spirited. And by going ahead and changing a disability pension into when they changed it into a non-pension, into income means tested.
Yeah.
And
income of last resort, Brent.
Yeah, income of last resort. And I felt that was so cruel because I used to argue. I mean, nobody really knows how many arguments I had. My mom actually got so mad with me one time and told me to leave. She said, you know what? Maybe you should pack your bags and leave. right? And I said, well, why? She said, because she said that the fact is that the government would never turn a pension into a non-pension. And she didn't believe me. I had heard this from a consultation at the ministry where people were on income assistance at first, right? And then you got your disability. I had heard through the grapevine that that's kind of what they were discussing. I didn't really know what all that meant. My family doctor thought it was a pension. I mean, go figure. The doctor, you figure that would already know these things. He said it's a pension, Brent. I said, well, I had heard that. No, I had heard that they were talking about changing into a income of last resort, a income-based. He says, you know what? Whoever told you that is full of shit, and they need to get shit or get off the pot, he said. Yeah. And again, arguments. Yeah. And guess what? It ended up being that way. Yeah. I didn't know. I got on after it was changed. Yeah. Again, imagine
because pink unicorns are real.
And there's one right behind me.
They can deny the truth and say pink unicorns are real.
So what I want to see going forward, I want to see it reinstated. I want to see it back to the way, and I want to see it retroactive back. So people that are on that are on the system now, and when they got on, I want to see it reinstated back to the state of when they got on. Okay, I mean, I don't know anyone in the country that would see it as a lawyer that would take on a case like that. And I'm sure there's probably people that are working on this right now across our country. I know we've had a discussion regarding one of our podcasts. We asked one of our guests that was on as a guest, would you take this on as a case? Whoa, hot potato. Whoa. He says, no,
thanks.
He said, no, thanks. Thanks anyway. Yay. But, you know, but I mean, in all seriousness, everyone, I want to see more respect for people with disabilities. I want to see that core fundamental value that should be in place of protecting our citizens. People like John Horgan, everyone heard that clip in there. I mean, where he said, I mean, people shouldn't have to choose, right? Choose between having a bus pass, having to put the lights on, having to have meals. I mean, sacrifices. And those were real words. I mean, John and I had many discussions regarding that. And I really hope that the premier or premiers going forward will use his legacy and listen back on what John Horgan said in so many different debates in the BC legislature and carry his vision forward. And then this is a challenge for every premier in Canada. Can you do better? Meaning fulfill a fundamental rights for persons with disabilities and bring them up to the poverty level and tie it to inflation and make it as a pension. Yeah. Can we do that? Can we actually do that as a country? That's a challenge. Which premier is going to do that first? And whichever one does, you're going to win a prize from PWD Allies. Okay? You're going to win a prize, and I'm going to say what the prize is, but you're going to win a prize. And I will personally mail it to you, whichever premier does it first, I will mail you one prize, and it will come from my address to your address, to whatever government it is, okay? Here's a challenge. And that's your rates, not the Canada Disability Benefit. No. Your rates.
That's cheating. That's
cheating. Bring it up to no less than poverty level. Yeah. And what the poverty level, I was surprised. I heard actually just recently, last night, poverty level in British Columbia, get this everyone, $28,500. I literally almost fell out of my
up now. Wow.
Chair. Yeah, $28,500. They said no one in BC as a single person should be living less than $28,500. That has really gone up higher. Yeah. So Jeff, I have to let Jeff know if you're watching this later on, 28,500.
Well, you know, we could have
the LICO amount, that is.
Yeah, we could have. We did a list of 10 oopsies. We did a list of 10. We counted them down here. We're done. So we can clock out now. But that list of 10 it could have been longer.
It could have been a longer list, but
we could have included more, but we kind of condensed it down to kind of what we thought were the top 10. But I mean, it could have been a much longer list because there's a lot of oopsies, right? There's a lot of oopsies.
A lot of oopsies.
It's like, whoops, sorry.
A lot of comments, a lot of oopsies. But hey,
yeah,
you know what? We did it again. We did it again.
Oops, I did it again. I played with your heart. Got lost in the game. Oh, baby, baby. Oops.
I did it again. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you really enjoyed today's podcast. It was a little bit longer episode.
Yeah, we went overtime.
But, lots to cover, lots to talk about. Kind of dived into each topic. Hope you enjoyed the sound bites on that.
I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, it was. And I mean, I try to blend some of these sound bites in here and there, and it kind of gives it a good narrative of kind of what we're talking about. And you look back in memory lane and say, "Oh, hey, I remember that." Yeah, I just want fairness. I just want fairness for people. I mean, your brothers, your sisters, your mothers, your fathers. I mean, doctors, nurses. It can affect anybody's lives at any time. I've seen it. I go through it on a day-to-day basis. People in the community I talk to. I don't know who I don't talk to that are not affected by poverty. People that used to have a six-figure income are now living in legislated poverty. They're not disabled, not yet, they said, but they said that they realize that in life they will become disabled, and they realize it. And they said, well, is that how the government treats you? Is that how much you only get? I go, yeah, they're waiting on the CDB. Oh, you're going to be waiting forever there, young man. You're going to be waiting forever. They need to take care of their own citizens. And I talked to a guy. That's the guy I talked to. And he used to be a federal minister. Oh, man. He said, they're just playing carrots. They're just playing carrot tricks with you.
Yeah.
I go, that is a cruel freaking joke. He goes, and well, we'll have to see which clown he says gets into federal government. So I guess wake up call, which federal minister is going to actually follow through and actually bring it back to its original state. The CBB, the Guaranteed Income Supplement equivalent, and provinces. Like I said, here is a test for you. Bring it up. Oh, but it's tariffs. It's tariffs.
And like I said, the depending on the CDB is cheating.
Yeah,
that's the cheat code. So don't use the cheat code because that's
the cheat code. Get rid of that DTC. Yeah, that we can make it better for every single person. But here's a media announcement. I promised I was going to
be quick, Brent.
Yeah. Before we sign off, we're going to be having a rally at the BC Legislature, May 15th of 2025.
On the Thursday, right? That's a Thursday.
Yeah, it's a Thursday. And it's going to be on the front lawns of the BC Legislature between 1 and 3. We're going to have a live DJ there. So it's about Raise the Rates rally.
There's going to be live pink unicorns.
There's going to be
out on the lawn.
They're going to be living well. They live well and prosper. They're well taken care of. You know what? In the government's fictionary minds, they live well. In reality, there is no pink unicorns. But they're running around rapid right now because they love clawbacks. They don't like raising rates, etc. But yeah, anyway, the rally is going to be about raising rates and raise the rates and rave. It's live DJ. We're going to have a fun time with just calm music, just chill music.
All right. Is there going to be as much fun there as we have on the podcast here?
Oh yeah. It'll be amplified. And our voices will be amplified too. If people can come up and be a guest speakers. I'm sure Jeff will be posting out messages regarding this in the near future. I really encourage people from different unions to join us, doctors, nurses, your landlord, your manager from your management company. If you rent from a corporate landlord, I really encourage you to get them to come out and join us at our rally. Let's make this a big event. Let's let our voices be heard so that the politicians are behind that wall, the legislature. I mean, there's wax in the ears. There's not wax in their ears, but well, maybe there is because they can't hear us or they don't want to deal with the policy.
It's kind of like that monkey from the last podcast was doing this.
There's nothing to see here, folks.
I don't see it.
So then we make our voices loud and clear, and we say, no more. Let's put an end to this disgraceful legislative poverty across in BC And I really encourage other organizations across Canada to organize, and maybe we can network together with giving rallies, and we can simulcast it to cross representatives from each province, and let your premiers know it's not okay. It's not okay. We're in 2025 now. We're not way back in the Stone Age where rates, your buying power, where you could buy a lot more. And not all disabled people live with their mother, father. A lot of people live independently in market housing. We don't all live in subsidized housing. God forbid, right? Small percentage. But I'm going to get into another podcast about that episode. There's so many different podcasts I'll be talking on that part. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in.
And I guess we should also mention too, probably the next podcast is going to be next Friday.
Next Friday.
So we're gonna miss Monday because it's the long weekend. It's a holiday weekend.
Yeah.
So we wanted to wish everybody a good Friday tomorrow.
Happy bunny weekend.
Yeah. And have a blessed Easter weekend. Yeah.
And today is kind of like our good Thursday instead of Good Friday. We were going to have a podcast on Friday. We're having on a Good Thursday.
So you have to wait a whole 8 days until we're back again.
8 days. And Sunday.
Can you make it? Can you make it?
Can you do it? Oops. We gotta wait 8 days. But you know what? We did it again because we changed the date to today instead of tomorrow. Sunny and beautiful Victoria, British Columbia right now. Supposed to be nice today and tomorrow. Friday, Good Friday, which is yay. Part of Saturday, then it's supposed to kind of get a little bit iffy Saturday, Sunday, but that's okay. That's a long weekend. I hope everyone enjoys their long weekend. Please reach out if you'd like to sponsor our podcast. We'd be greatly appreciated. You can like our content. Buy us a coffee. It's the options right there. I know that a lot of people are financially pinched these days. I get it. I understand.
Yeah.
And that's a discussion we had with the minister yesterday in a meeting too. There's challenges ahead, and we just have to do the best we can for each other.
If you share out the content, it helps us grow the channel.
It really does help us grow the content down, and it helps us grow. And there'll be lots of opportunities going forward. I'm so excited to see how the channel is building and things are blossoming. But you see people that are online. There's so many different social media channels that people can post things. If they're reaching out for help, help them out if you can. I know things are tight. Let's come together as a family, help each other. Government's not. They don't know. They can help themselves. They just don't know how to help the citizens, right?
Yeah.
But that can change too, right? That can change. It's just the mindset, right? It's just policy based. And when we say, we wing out people's names, and it's nothing meant personally against them. It's all about policy decisions, and those need to change, right? So governments keep carrying that forward, copy paste. I think that mindset needs to be modernized.
We throw out bouquets. We throw out bouquets to politicians too when they do the right thing. So
yeah, we do. And you know what? You do the right thing, you'll get a free gift from PWD Allies too. That'll be in the future.
Yeah.
But hey, stay tuned. There's always neat episodes coming up. You want to be a guest, reach out to Neil. He'll get you scheduled in. And
8 days from now, we're gonna have another podcast.
Yes.
Let's sing it out, Brent.
Okay.
Oops. I did it again. I played with your heart. I lost in the game. Oh, baby.